Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy Light back with another YouTube video. And in today's video, we're going to be doing Loki episode number 1, glorious purpose review here on today's video. So yeah, Loki episode 1 has dropped today, Wednesday, and yeah, it's the first episode of the show. The third MCU Disney Plus show has just kicked off. So yeah, and in episode 1, definitely a very interesting episode. Did really well in my personal opinion. It did really well in terms of my expectations for the episode. But anyways, let's get into it. Just before we start, I just want to say disclaimers, spoilers ahead for Loki episode number 1, Glorious Purpose. But anyways, let's get into it. So I thought this episode did a lot in terms of giving us our starter kind of stuff, establishing some backstory ish, and like introduction. You can't really establish much backstory. That's different with this show. It's more so establishing more of the characters and stuff like that, and introductions and everything. So without ado, let's get into this. So the first thing we see here is we see a flashback back to, of course, the endgame scene where Loki escapes with the Tesseract, and we see a bit of an Easter egg when Loki goes in the sand. It's a callback to back when Iron Man crashed in the sand. If you guys remember, Tony Stark did in back in the first Iron Man movie. So it's funny to see that. And then we see the TVA come out of nowhere and pretty much uh, apprehend him, and we see they have stuff like that can reset the timeline and stuff like that, which is interesting as well. I have something to say as well about that. We could see then they bring him back to their headquarters. They show themselves off and stuff like that. Uh, we see. Sorry about that. Loki is more mischievous, of course, because this is the younger version of Loki than, say, the older version, which we'll get into and I'll explain just now. And yeah, we get introduced to somebody by the name of Morbius, Owen Wilson's character. We could see he's more of a believer in Loki. He thinks he could be kind of resurrected, especially because he's seen what happens in the future. So I expect that's why he kind of chose Loki to help him. So you can see, yeah, Loki is probably going to be helping Morbius with whatever's happening right now. Uh, so yeah, there's that, of course. We get introduction to the TVA. I just said that, and then we also see Loki, younger version of Loki, look through what's gonna happen in the future, especially with stuff saying like him sacrificing himself for Thor, uh, Odin dying, his mom dying, Thanos killing him, that kind of stuff. He's seen it, so now he kind of understands what's going on in the future. And it also goes and dives into character analysis a lot of his character, because if a lot of people realize, Morbius was questioning him, and he was like, "Loki, what is your purpose?" Pretty much, and he kind of didn't really know. I mean, he kept saying to rule the galaxy, rule Earth, and it just didn't make any sense. And Morbius was like, "Is it to inflict pain in people? Is it what is it?" And then finally, by the end of the episode, he kind of sees exactly uh, what his kind of true purpose is and helping and all that, closer to the ending of kind of his life. So there's that, of course, which I find pretty interesting. Uh, yeah, let's get into my thoughts. Now, I thought this really did uh, like appease my expectation, especially with the fact that I kind of wanted to see, because we knew Loki was gonna be a little bit younger, especially with the him being like the 2012 Loki, where he's not yet. He's still kind of, excuse me, but he's still kind of acting a bit childish in the fact he's trying to find his footing in in these worlds, and trying to find his footing, and he's kind of confused a little bit of what's going on. So I really wanted to see maybe an eye opener for him, especially once he sees, say, what's going on in the future. I was really curious to see what he was gonna think when he saw himself sacrificing himself for Thor, because you saw when his mom died, for example, he started crying. Same with Odin, he was kind of tearful a bit. But with Thor, he kind of laughed a bit, but you could kind of see he's very childish in that fact, where he's like, I could never sacrifice myself for Thor. But then he ends up, you could kind of see that he's like, I sacrificed myself for Thor. Like maybe there is heroics in me or something. So you kind of see some bit of purpose in there. That's what I really like. I wonder if that's gonna be a common theme in the show. Is kind of Loki finding purpose, which I think is a pretty interesting theme, if I do say so myself. We got a hint of kind of like who the villain was. We saw like early on in the episode, Morbius was just walking around and he saw he there was like a murder scene or something, and he asked some little girl exactly who did this, and the little girl pointed at a red figure that was on a window that kind of looks like Mephisto. I mean, I don't want to add on to this, but it kind of does. Uh, so I'm not too sure, but I feel like if they were adding Mephisto, it'd be more secretive. So I'm not too sure exactly what's gonna go on with that. Uh, then of course, closer to the end of the episode, we actually saw uh, Loki ending up just or not Loki, sorry. We saw the TV was on a mission, and they were like in Oklahoma, like the 15th century, and you saw a whole bunch of people dead, and then all you see is a mysterious figure, a cape figure, just set flames to them and kill them. So I'm curious to see who that is, and also Morbius said also he wanted to recruit him because he's versing his own variant. So I'm really curious to see what he says on that, like what the meaning behind that is. I mean, the cape figure, I'm really curious to see exactly what goes on with that cape figure. Whether it be say Mephisto, I don't want to add on to that. I have a purpose for that, or maybe people have been speculating that it could be a girl Loki. So I don't know what to say. I mean, that could be interesting, and it just showcases the fact that Loki is kind of with the he kind of altered the timelines and stuff to create more things, and maybe even created a girl version of himself, or even a duplicate version of himself. But I'm very curious to see who the villain of the show is. Uh, in terms of rating, I would give this probably a 10 out of 10. I thought it was a good episode. My apologies, I keep yawning for some reason, but I thought this was a good episode. And yeah, anyways, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video. Peace.